Hello, my name is Lily Hoffman, and I'm going to show you how to do problem 3 here. So let's start. Consider this mathematical machine. Input: add 7, multiply by 6, subtract 18, divide by 2. Output. So part A says, what number would you have to use as input if you wanted 39 as the output? So the first way we could start by doing this would be to make a guess and check table. So we're looking for 39. So let's start and guess and see what the input would be for the first one. If we had 1 go in as input, what would be the output? So 1 plus 7 equals 8 times 6 equals 48 minus 18 equals 30 divided by 2 equals 15. So that's what we know. If we put 1 as the input, then the output would be 15. So let's keep going and see if we can find a pattern here. So if we put 2 as the input and run it through, equals 9 times 6 equals 54 minus 18 equals 36 divided by 2 equals 18. So if we had 2 as the input, then the output would be 18. So let's start again for 3. Plus 7 equals 10 times 6 equals 60 minus 18 equals 42 divided by 2 would equal 21. So if the input would be 3, then the output would be 21. So let's write that here again in the table. 3, 21. So what can we see here on the table? The pattern is between each number and the output would be 3. So as the input goes up by 1, then the output goes up by 3. So we can guess what would be the next output for the number 4. 24, 27, 6 would be 30, and then 7 would be 33, and then 8 would be 36, and then 9 would be 39. So that's what we were looking for. We need to find what would be the input for 39. So we found that here. It'd be 9. And we did that by counting up by 3s. So the part B says, what would you have to input to obtain an output of 48? So all we have to do, we just need to keep going up until we get to 48 as the output. So 10 would be 42, and 11 would be 45, and then for 12, we would get 48. And that's how many inputs how much input would you need to get the output of 48. So let's write that here, 12. Describe a different strategy for attacking this problem than the one you used for part A and B. So a different way that you could do it would be taking the output and then reversing it through the machine by using the inverse operation of each operation here it says. So if you had divide, you would use multiplication. If you had subtract, you use addition, and you would use division for multiplication and subtraction for adding. So let's do that here. Let's run it through the machine backwards. So 39, and then so we're using multiplication instead of dividing, so we'll do times 2 equals 78, and then plus 18 equals 96 divided by 6 equals 16 minus 7 equals 9. So there we are again, getting the right amount of input to get 39. So that's a different, quicker way that you could do it. And let's do that again for 48. So if the input was 48, let's do it backwards. So times 2 would be 96 plus 18, 114 divided by 6 equals 19 minus 7 equals 12. So that's another way that you can do it to get the right answer there, by going backwards with the inverse operations with the output number. And for part D, it says, how would you solve part A and B by the use of variable problem solving strategy? So instead of having a number at the beginning here, we can just pretend that the input is x. And so if we do x and run it through all of here, we can just do an algebra problem with all the things that we're supposed to do to x. So x plus 7 times 6 minus 18 divided by 2. So let's just solve this here with the x here. So that would have, let's do the distributive, 6 times x times 7, and that would get us 6x plus 24 plus 42. So we have 42 minus 18 divided by 2. So then we have to subtract 18 from 42, and that would get us 6x plus 24 divided by 2. And then we divide 6x and then also the 24, and that would get us 3x plus 12 equals whatever output you have here. So that would be whatever answer that we have, whether it be 39 or 48. So let's plug it in. We have 39, and then we're just gonna solve the problem with the x in there. So all we have to do is, since we have a adding 12, we're gonna do the inverse of that to take it away, and we would do that to both sides. And that would get us 27. 3x equals 27. And then, since this is multiplying times each other, we would just do the inverse of multiplying, which would be dividing. Dividing by 3 to both sides. And then that would get us 9. The answer that we are looking for at the end here. And then to do that again for 48, 3x plus 12 equals 48. So subtract 12. And that would get us 36. And then divide by both sides also. just like we did on the last one, and that would get us 12. 36 divided by 3 would be 12, and that would be how we would use a variable problem-solving strategy for numbers for letters A and B. Thank you so much for watching.